It was an ordinary day in the remote Siberian tundra when the ground suddenly roared to life. Locals reported hearing a deafening explosion, followed by tremors that shook the earth beneath their feet. When the dust settled, a massive crater had appeared, stretching over 100 feet wide and plunging deep into the frozen ground. This was no ordinary sinkhole. It was a gaping void that seemed to defy explanation. Scientists rushed to the scene, but the questions only multiplied. What could have caused such a colossal hole to form in the blink of an eye? And why here, in one of the most isolated regions on Earth? This was just the beginning. Similar reports began to surface from around the globe, enormous holes appearing overnight, swallowing everything in their path. In Florida, a quiet neighborhood woke up to find a 50-foot wide sinkhole had devoured a car and part of a house. In Turkey, a massive chasm split a farmer's field in two, leaving behind a jagged scar. Each event was more baffling than the last, leaving scientists and locals alike scrambling for answers. Theories began to emerge, but none could fully explain the sheer scale and suddenness of these phenomena. Some pointed to natural causes, like melting permafrost or underground erosion. Others whispered about more mysterious forces at play, ancient geological processes, hidden underground caverns, or even extraterrestrial activity. The truth remained elusive, shrouded in mystery and speculation. As the world watched, these giant holes became more than just geological oddities. They became symbols of the unknown, reminders of how little we truly understand about the planet we call home. What secrets lie beneath our feet? And what other surprises might the Earth have in store? As scientists and researchers descended on the sites of these colossal holes, they began to piece together clues that might explain their sudden appearance. In Siberia, the Yamal crater, often referred to as the gateway to the underworld, became a focal point of study. Samples taken from the crater's edges revealed high concentrations of methane gas, leading to a startling theory. Could the melting of permafrost, accelerated by rising global temperatures, be releasing trapped gases that build up pressure until the ground literally explodes? The idea was both fascinating and terrifying, suggesting that these holes might be a symptom of a planet in flux. But not all holes fit this explanation. In places like Florida, where limestone bedrock is common, the cause seemed more straightforward. Over time, acidic rainwater can dissolve the limestone, creating underground cavities. When the ground above these cavities can no longer support its own weight, it collapses, forming sinkholes. Yet, even here, questions remained. Why were some sinkholes growing larger and appearing more frequently than ever before? Was human activity, such as excessive groundwater extraction or urban development, exacerbating the problem? Then there were the holes that defied all conventional explanations. In the deserts of the Middle East, massive craters appeared in areas with no history of geological instability. Some locals claimed to have seen strange lights or heard eerie sounds before the ground gave way, fueling speculation about hidden forces at work. Could these holes be the result of ancient, undiscovered geological processes? Or were they evidence of something even more extraordinary? Theories began to swirl, ranging from the plausible to the fantastical. Some researchers suggested that underground volcanic activity or a shift in tectonic plates might be to blame. Others proposed that these holes were the result of collapsing underground rivers or long-forgotten mines. And then there were those who looked to the skies, wondering if meteorites or even extraterrestrial activity could be responsible. As the debate raged on, one thing became clear. These holes were more than just random acts of nature. They were windows into the Earth's hidden depths, revealing processes that had been quietly shaping our planet for millennia. But with each new discovery came more questions. What other secrets lay buried beneath the surface? And how much time did we have to uncover them before the ground beneath our feet gave way once more? The sudden appearance of giant holes wasn't just a scientific curiosity. It was a growing threat to communities, ecosystems, and infrastructure worldwide. In the Siberian tundra, the Yamal crater had become a stark reminder of the fragility of the Arctic landscape. As the permafrost continued to thaw, more craters began to form, releasing ancient methane into the atmosphere and accelerating climate change. For the indigenous Nenets people, who had lived in harmony with the land for centuries, these holes were a harbinger of an uncertain future. Their nomadic way of life, dependent on the stability of the tundra, was now at risk. In urban areas, the dangers were even more immediate. In Guatemala City, a massive sinkhole over 300 feet deep swallowed an entire intersection, taking buildings and vehicles with it. Miraculously, no lives were lost, but the event sent shockwaves through the community. Engineers and geologists scrambled to assess the stability of the ground beneath the city, but the question lingered. How many other cities were sitting atop similar ticking time bombs? The environmental impact of these holes was equally alarming. In the Florida Everglades, a series of sinkholes disrupted delicate ecosystems, draining wetlands and threatening endangered species. In the Middle East, craters in the desert altered water drainage patterns, leading to flash floods in areas that had been dry for centuries. Each hole seemed to set off a chain reaction, reshaping the landscape in ways that scientists were only beginning to understand. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect was the unpredictability. Unlike earthquakes or hurricanes, which could be monitored and forecasted to some degree, these holes appeared without warning. One moment, the ground was solid. The next, it was gone. This unpredictability made it nearly impossible to prepare for or prevent such events, leaving communities vulnerable and scientists racing against time. As the frequency of these holes increased, so did the calls for action. Governments began investing in advanced monitoring systems, using satellite imagery and ground-penetrating radar to detect potential risks. Engineers developed new techniques to stabilize unstable ground, while urban planners reconsidered where and how to build. But for many, these measures felt like a band-aid on a wound that was only getting deeper. The giant holes had become more than just a geological mystery. They were a symbol of humanity's precarious relationship with the planet. They reminded us that the ground beneath our feet, which we often take for granted, is anything but stable. And as the Earth continued to change, one question loomed larger than all the others. What would the next hole reveal? And were we ready to face it? As the world grappled with the growing phenomenon of giant holes, scientists and researchers intensified their efforts to understand and predict these enigmatic events. In the frozen expanses of Siberia, teams drilled into the permafrost, collecting ice cores and gas samples to piece together the story of the Yamal crater. What they found was both fascinating and alarming. Pockets of methane, trapped for millennia, were now escaping as the Earth warmed, creating pressure that could explode at any moment. This discovery not only explained the craters, but also highlighted the urgent need to address climate change on a global scale. Meanwhile, in urban areas, new technologies were being deployed to monitor the ground for signs of instability. Satellite imagery, combined with AI algorithms, allowed scientists to detect subtle changes in the Earth's surface, providing early warnings for potential sinkholes. In Florida, engineers experimented with innovative methods to stabilize the ground, injecting grout into underground cavities to prevent collapses. These efforts offered hope, but they also came with a sobering realization. The Earth was changing faster than we could adapt. Yet, for all the progress, some holes remain shrouded in mystery. In the deserts of Saudi Arabia, a series of massive craters appeared in areas with no apparent geological activity. Locals spoke of ancient legends, warning of spirits that live beneath the sand. Scientists, while skeptical, couldn't entirely dismiss the possibility that these holes were linked to processes we had yet to discover. Could there be underground rivers, long buried by time, carving out hidden caverns? Or were these holes evidence of something even more extraordinary, like the remnants of an ancient civilization or the effects of cosmic forces? The giant holes had become more than just a scientific challenge. They were a reminder of how much we still had to learn about our planet. They forced us to confront the limits of our knowledge and the fragility of our existence. But they also inspired a sense of wonder, a desire to explore and understand the mysteries that lay beneath our feet. As the research continued, one thing became clear. These holes were not just random acts of nature. They were part of a larger story, a story about the Earth's past, present, and future. They reminded us that the ground beneath our feet is alive, constantly shifting and changing in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. And so, the mystery of the giant holes remains, a puzzle waiting to be solved. What other secrets does the Earth hold? And what will we discover as we continue to dig deeper, both literally and figuratively? The answers may lie just beneath the surface, waiting for the next explorer to uncover them.